Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm Stefanos Polizoidis, Dean of the School of Architecture, and on behalf of the faculty and staff of our school, I would like to welcome you to all of you, graduating students, parents, families, and friends, to the 2020-21 School of Architecture graduation ceremony. Though the surroundings and circumstances are a little bit unusual, it is certainly a very joyous occasion that we gather here today to celebrate. And we're all together here to think about the great achievements of these graduating classes in front of us. I would like to introduce the people on the stage with me. Behind me I have Samantha Solden-Teach, Assistant Dean for Graduate Studies in the school, and Krupali Uplakar-Krusha, Associate Dean of Research, Scholarship, and Creative Work. Also behind me, Graduate Valedictorian James Langan and Sam Burgess, Undergraduate Valedictorian Matthew Schwent, and finally James Pescio, a member of the class of 2021, who I now invite to come to the podium to give the invocation. James?
Let us pray. Good and loving God, we thank you for the opportunity to be here today to celebrate the completion of another academic year. We thank you for the chance to gather physically and together to commemorate the accomplishments of these graduates. We thank you for the provision of technology, which has allowed loved ones far away to come a little bit closer and celebrate alongside us. We remember the invaluable support of our friends, family, and colleagues, and strive to provide similar support to those who follow behind us. Let us advance together in a spirit of unity, not simply tolerating our differences, but working collectively in good faith for our common prosperity. We have seen the cruelty which can occur when the spirit is lacking. We grieve for those around the world who suffer under the hand of violence, and ask you to deliver them, just as you deliver us from the temptations which curse their aggressors. Although we are limited by our human condition, we ask that you continue to guide us and act through us to create a more peaceable world for all people. Reflecting on the past, we acknowledge that this class has faced numerous challenges, some minor trivialities and others grave and sobering circumstances. But besides these hardships, we have also been blessed with days of great joy and days of panic, and days of still silence. It is by your providence that we have made it here today, and we ask that these rich experiences help us act with greater empathy and compassion as we move forward into the world. Amen.
Thank you, James, and again, welcome everybody. It is now my pleasure to introduce the graduate valedictorian for the Master of Architecture, Design, and Urbanism, James Langan.
Good afternoon, and welcome to all our visitors, family, and friends. It's wonderful you could be here in what is still a difficult time to travel. I'm incredibly honored to be standing up here, especially knowing the quality of my colleagues as individuals and the high level of their work. Graduating colleagues that I've spent a lot of time with, like Kristen Johnson, who can seemingly handle any situation and consistently produce high-level work, or Tyler Milam, who has made some of the most beautiful studio projects I've ever seen at any school, or my good friend Sankath Baratish, who spent last summer with me after it became impossible for him to return home to India during the pandemic, and who had to abruptly return home to India just a few weeks ago when a close family member was hospitalized with COVID. He still completed and presented on schedule one of the most excellent and meaningful thesis projects I've seen, showing remarkable strength of character. We are all relieved to hear that his family member is recovering. We are incredibly grateful, and I know they would join me in thanking the faculty and staff for supporting us and making this incredibly difficult year possible. Invaluable people like Matt Money and Carol Kraus, who can seemingly solve any problem for grad students at Walsh Family Hall. Thank you to our professors, who calmly carried on teaching under the increased stress and workload of the accelerated semesters. Especially to my thesis advisor, Professor Douglas Dwani, who regularly inspires students to look for deeper meaning in their work. He might be found on any day of the week in any studio, helping, teaching, and inspiring any student in the school building. We are grateful for the leaders of the graduate department, Professors Economakis and Salden Teach, who have so many responsibilities it's dizzying, all of which get taken care of with the utmost professionalism. And to Dean Palazoides, who fearlessly joined us during this difficult time and stoically led us through it. And to all the other students, faculty, and staff doing amazing things that I don't have the honor of witnessing on a regular basis. It has all been very inspiring to behold. And I know I'm not the only one who's been impressed by the way you all, and by the way we all, have risen to and overcome the unprecedented challenges of this year. So I hope you can see why I'm honored and grateful to stand up here today as part of this very special community. Architects are stewards of the built environment. The profession would benefit if, like doctors, we were to take a Hippocratic oath of sorts to help or at least do no harm. We are charged with making the built world a more beautiful and just place to live for people. For people, not for cars, machines, or computers. We aim to design places that build humane and urbane communities, a challenge made even more important in a world increasingly dominated by isolating digital communication that can sometimes inhibit personal connections. While we appreciate the conveniences of digital communication, we have all experienced firsthand the endless stream of emails and the limits of Zoom presentations. Nevertheless, Notre Dame students adapt and overcome, making drawings that are beautiful on the finest watercolor paper and also on a small 15-year-old computer monitor. It can be done. As we commence and head into offices around the country, we will do well to remember the ideals of the Academy. We will face adversity in the form of outdated zoning and building ordinances, unsustainable developer models, things that have the momentum of time and money behind them. But I've seen Notre Dame students rise to challenges and overcome adversity. I'm excited to hear stories of future success. Congratulations to everyone, and thank you. I'm now pleased to introduce our other graduate valedictorian, Sam Burgess.
Thank you, James. Class of 2021, it is an honor to share some parting words with you. The Notre Dame School of Architecture is a community of students who live, eat, and breathe excellence, and I'm humbled to be graduating in such good company. Architecture school is demanding enough without the added ordeal of a pandemic, but we have all managed to produce some of our very best work within the constraints of unusual adversity. This is a testament not only to our own tenacity and talent, but also to the efforts of many dedicated teachers and staff, and to the devotion of our loved ones. We should all be especially proud of ourselves and each other for what we have accomplished. As we conclude our time as students here, it is meaningful to reflect on how fortunate we have been to study at the world's premier school of classical and traditional architecture. We all know that this institution occupies an important place in architectural education that was left vacant for many decades. Most of us came to Notre Dame because we already knew what we valued in architecture, and we've been fully supported here in transforming our good instincts into useful skills and clearly defined principles. Here, we have developed a range of abilities that will set us apart from most other architects for the rest of our lives. If you haven't done so lately, take a minute or two to visit the faculty directory on the School of Architecture's website. Look at the faces of the professors who have nurtured our intellects for the past 2, 3, or 5 years, and remember something valuable you have learned from each one. It may take weeks or months of contemplation and rest before we can fully comprehend the significance of what we have just completed. Something we probably all have in common right now is that we are both very eager for what comes next and also very tired. Many of us have often wished we could learn the lessons of our curriculum in less stressful and tiring ways. According to many statistics, architecture students are the most sleep-deprived students on American campuses. It is up to us to keep refining the culture of architectural education for the well-being and success of future students. And it is so encouraging to see our own school making great strides towards such improvements by implementing 10 p.m. studio deadlines and working to coordinate project schedules between concurrent courses. These commendable efforts are already starting to make a difference for us, and I hope that architecture schools across our country are taking note. That being said, if there is one thing we have gained from all of the late nights, early mornings, and heavy loads, it is an extraordinary skill for time management and the deeper wisdom that comes with it. Through meeting the demands of our coursework, we have learned the full value of a day, of an hour, and even of a minute. As we enter the workforce and adjust to a more standard rhythm of daily and weekly life, let us never forget what we have learned about the value of time. We all stand at the beginning of a new and exciting stage in our lives. Even the oldest of us are now looking forward to many decades of meaningful work and life, inside and outside of architecture. Many of us have learned from Professor Duani that we are swimming in time, even when we think we aren't. As we discover the freedom to spend more evenings and weekends as we choose, let us remember to make the very most of this time, whether it is by being fully present with our friends and family, learning a new skill or furthering an old one, exploring a personal interest, appreciating the beauty of nature, or volunteering in our communities. In youth, the days that lie ahead can seem almost infinite, but we have already had the chance to observe how quickly and relentlessly our future becomes our past. For the very same reason, let us remain committed to doing truly good work and acting with integrity throughout our lives and careers. Our time on Earth is finite, but our choices leave a permanent imprint on the universe. If we lose our integrity, all other goods in this life become hollow. Through our incredibly unique architectural education at Notre Dame, we have acquired a responsibility to preserve and create buildings, neighborhoods, and cities that will remain beautiful and functional for generations, while treading as lightly as possible on the planet. We have acquired a duty to protect and add to traditions that are bigger than ourselves, rather than indulge in the capricious expression of our own egos. Many architecture schools do not genuinely teach these values, and it is our special charge to lead by example in our profession. We often hear that there is no place for idealism beyond the walls of the academy, but that simply isn't true. And none of us would be here if it were in our nature to give up on a worthy task before we started. It is only through the proper combination of idealism and pragmatism that anything of note can be achieved in architecture. Without a healthy balance of high-minded vision and technical know-how, there would be no town of Poundbury, no Katrina Cottage, no Royal Crescent, no St. Peter's Basilica, and no Parthenon. Let us take inspiration from such examples and fully embrace what we can accomplish in architecture as the ultimate pragmatic idealists. Congratulations, class of 2021, and good luck to us all as we carry our education into the world. And now, I'm very pleased to introduce undergraduate valedictorian Matthew Geschwind.
Thank you, Sam, and thank you all for being here. It's my honor to speak on behalf of my class about our time in the School of Architecture and at Notre Dame. A few weeks ago, during our last professional practice class with Professor Meller, he compared Notre Dame to Leon Crier's City of Cities, one university community comprised of smaller communities. The School of Architecture is certainly one such community within the university, and at its best is an example of a community that supports each of its members, celebrating their victories and helping them through their trying times. We all, along with the school's faculty and staff, have gotten to know each other, share space with each other, and have seen each other through some of our best and worst moments over these past 5 years. As a class, we've celebrated with each other after studio deadlines. We've shared incredible trips exploring Rome, other cities of Europe, and Washington, D.C. Little did we know at the time, one of those trips to Sicily would include a premonition of the pandemic year to come. We've also commiserated over stressful deadlines, late nights, and tough reviews. We've indulged the fun and silly, from tape measures hanging from the ceiling to leg stapling. We've also engaged the serious and academic, from conversations about the events of the day to critical discussion about the architectural principles we're taught and their place in the world. Beyond just our relationships with each other, we started in the school looking up to our mentors, TAs, club officers, upperclassmen, and graduate students, and by the end of our time, explored what it means to serve as mentors ourselves, reaching out to underclassmen in countless ways and helping them find their footing in the program. Through these experiences, we went from being normal classmates who we would see in class and sometimes working in studio, to being all too familiar with each other's nervous habits and tics, but also each other's talents and passions. So what did we all learn in architecture school? Well, lots of things: how to draw and paint, how to design urban spaces, buildings, and details, how buildings go together, and how they stand up. But we're all preparing to take so many different paths in which we'll directly use all, some, or even only a few of these skills. I would argue that above all these skills specific to the discipline of architecture, we learned about how to recognize and celebrate each other's unique gifts, how to collaborate on work greater than any individual could achieve, and how to support each other in difficult moments. We learned that design happens best with others to bounce ideas off of. We learned that late nights, while never great, are easier to get through with friends. And we learned that school during a pandemic is not nearly as difficult when we have peers who we can lean on. These are lessons that will serve us wherever we go, be that a classical architecture firm in a big city, or graduate school, or an archaeological site in the middle of nowhere in Bulgaria. At risk of oversimplifying, one of the most basic principles we learned in the School of Architecture is that community is fundamental to how people live, both through our designs and through our time together. In whatever community we find ourselves, and whatever our place within that community, our time in the School of Architecture will inform our actions and help us to make positive contributions to lift up those around us. To all the faculty and staff, thank you for making the school a welcoming home every year and for every class. And to my classmates, I truly can't imagine a better group of people to have been on this journey with. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew, Sam, and James. It is wonderful to see the parents, siblings, family, and friends, all of you who have supported the education of the members of the class of 2021, gathered here today to celebrate their accomplishments and their transition to professional life. Again, a hearty welcome to you all. Dear class of 2021, you are the first graduating class during my tenure as dean of this distinguished school, and as such, I feel a very strong connection to you. This natural feeling has been heightened by the extraordinarily difficult circumstances we have faced together over this last year. I am in awe of your fortitude in the face of a once-in-a-life pandemic challenge, and incredibly proud of how you've all emerged from this experience with your strength, with your determination, and with your optimism intact. The Notre Dame COVID dashboard has stood at 0 for the last week, a reminder of how well we've all worked together in this great university to protect each other's health and each other's lives. And this despite massive inconvenience, sacrifices, and attention to rules of comportment far beyond the ordinary and often the reasonable. Words can just not describe how much I admire what you individually and all of us together have achieved. As I told you repeatedly at the beginning of this academic year, hardship builds character, solidarity, and life's habits that are invaluable to a future well lived in faith, service, and accomplishment. I trust that going forward, the memory of this year's struggles will guide us to a deeper insight into the learning and into the practice of architecture. In the short span of the last 5 years, you've amassed precious skills, amazing experiences traveling, studying, designing, and generally being introduced to a profession that can sustain your intellect and passion for learning until the end of your lives. Your work has been recognized and appreciated by some of the best living architects in our country and the world, and you received very significant offers of employment from them. This is something to be very proud and to celebrate today. Yet, the most important thing that you have learned while here is without doubt that in the future, as both individuals and as a class, you must lead by example. And that means that your work will provide beauty, shelter, respite, and service to all humanity, that your practice will dare address questions that may seem unanswerable, such as equity, justice, and inclusion for all, and challenges that might currently seem daunting. And finally, that your actions as a citizen, as an architect, urbanist, and environmentalist will radiate integrity and moral purpose. You're about to exit into a world that needs you desperately. It is a world sharply divided on virtually every cultural, social, and political front that you can imagine. You will be called upon to reform this world like every other generation before you. Act wisely, act fairly, seek the truth, be a healing influence, become a force for the common good. I know that standing here addressing you, that you will definitely respond to this noble calling. Please stay in touch with the school that launched you and the teachers that nurtured you. Our true reward will come when we find out in the months and years ahead that your performance as teachers and designers has exceeded ours. It is my great privilege on behalf of our entire faculty to extend the name colleague to you and to add to that student and friend. Till we see each other again, congratulations to all of you, and particularly to your families. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Samantha Salden Teach, Assistant Dean of Graduate Studies, and it is my pleasure to be here with the class of 2021 to celebrate their many accomplishments. I now welcome Dean Polyozoides back to the podium to confer degrees on the master's candidates and then present the bachelor degree graduates their diplomas. Would the candidates for the degree of Master of Architectural Design and Urbanism please stand?
As Dean of the School of Architecture of the University of Notre Dame du Lac, and in the name of Reverend Father President John I. Jenkins, CSC, and of the trustees of the university and of the faculty of the School of Architecture, I solemnly and publicly confer on you the degree of Master of Architectural Design and Urbanism. We admit you to all its rights and privileges and remind you of the responsibilities you're about to assume. May God bless you and keep you. Congratulations.
I now invite these students to come forward and receive their diplomas. Sankath Parimal Baditish in absentia, recipient of the Rambush Prize. James Bradley Langen, recipient of the Leon Battista Alberti Award, member of the Tau Sigma Delta Honor Society, recipient of the Ferguson and Shemamian Graduate Prize. Tyler Duncan Milam, member of the Tau Sigma Delta Honor Society, recipient of an Honorable Mention Award for Design Excellence in Architecture. Now, would the candidates for the degree of Master of Architecture please stand?
As Dean of the School of Architecture of the University of Notre Dame du Lac, and in the name of Reverend Father President John I. Jenkins, CSC, and of the trustees of the university and of the faculty of the School of Architecture, I solemnly and publicly confer upon you the degree of Master of Architecture. We admit you to all its rights and privileges and remind you of the responsibilities you're about to assume. May God bless you and keep you. Congratulations.
I now invite these students to come forward and receive their diplomas. Paul Samuel Burgess, member of the Tau Sigma Delta Honor Society and recipient of an Honorable Mention Award for Design Excellence in Architecture. Raul Gabriel Castaño, Castaña Scholar. Alexander George Hoyman. Christian Scott Johnson, member of the Tau Sigma Delta Honor Society, recipient of an Honorable Mention Award for Design Excellence in Architecture, and Castaña Scholar. William Charles Portales. Hannah Gwynn Rubottom, Castaña Scholar. Benjamin Shelton, in absentia, member of the Tau Sigma Delta Honor Society, recipient of the Dean's Graduate Award for Design Excellence in Architecture, and Castaña Scholar. Anthony Daniel Versio, Castaña Scholar. Patrick Thomas Versio, Castagna Scholar. I would now like to introduce my colleague, Krupali Uplikar-Krushe, Associate Dean for Research, Scholarship, and Creative Work, who will now announce the Bachelor of Architecture recipients.
Thank you, Samantha, and good afternoon, everyone. Tomorrow morning in the stadium, Reverend Father President John I. Jenkins, CSC, will confer the degree of Bachelors of Architecture on 46 of our students. Today, on behalf of Associate Dean John Stamper, I'll be announcing your names, and I invite you to come forward to be recognized. Thomas Alexander Assad. They were expecting a speech. Elizabeth Ann Boggs, cum laude, recipient of the Faculty Choice Honorable Mention Award for Design Excellence in Architecture. Kelsey Elizabeth Brigadi, cum laude, recipient of the Jane Jacobs Award, member of the Tau Sigma Delta Honors Society. Mark Thomas Berger, Glynn Family Honors Program. Congratulations. McCartan Thomas Commerce. Benedict Thomas Cook. Congratulations. Ryan Christopher Cove, magna cum laude, member of the Tau Sigma Delta Honor Society. Congratulations. Yeah, thank you. Jack Kelly Darnell. Congratulations. Brandon Dennis Davis. Congratulations. L. Olivia Dietz, in absentia. Congratulations. Christopher Thomas Ebner, cum laude, member of the Tau Sigma Delta Honor Society. Congratulations. Joseph Michael Facipiani, magna cum laude, the recipient of the Paris, Rome, Athens Prize, member of the Tau Sigma Delta Honor Society. Congratulations. Edward Louis Fico, recipient of the Noel Blanc Design Award. Matthew Alfred Gushwin, summa cum laude, recipient of the Henry Adam Undergraduate Medal, member of the Tau Sigma Delta Honor Society. Cecilia Rose Hall. Congratulations. Holly Alia Hastings, cum laude, member of the Tau Sigma Delta Honor Society. Sin Soo Kim. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Peter William Klein. Congratulations. Anna Kong. Congratulations. Connor James Goistra, recipient of the Faculty Choice Honorable Mention Award for Design Excellence in Architecture and the Tau Sigma Delta Bronze Medal. Congratulations. Nicole Lynn Larkin, magna cum laude, recipient of the Jury's Choice Honorable Mention for Design Excellence in Architecture, member of the Tau Sigma Delta Honor Society. Congratulations. Teresa Minodo. Congratulations. Doha Morshid, recipient of the Ling Su Chen Award. Congratulations. Lido Michael Morano. Congratulations. Jessica Marie Most, recipient of the Noel Blanc Design Award. Congratulations. Nicholas Carmen Odo, cum laude, recipient of the Jury's Choice Honorable Mention for Design Excellence in Architecture, member of the Tau Sigma Delta Honor Society. Congratulations. Caroline Kylie O'Grady, recipient of the Gertrude O. Solist Prize for Architectural Structure. Congratulations. Elizabeth Meriton Olaire. Congratulations. Michael James Parks. Congratulations. James Elliott Pessier, magna cum laude, recipient of the St. Joseph Award in Furniture Design, member of the Tau Sigma Delta Honor Society. Congratulations. Mary J. Repsinski. Congratulations. Juan Esteban Salazar, recipient of the Dean's Undergraduate Award for Design Excellence in Architecture. Congratulations. Taylor Owen Schmidt. Congratulations. No. Ethan Edward Scott, Glynn Family Honors Program. Congratulations. Christopher John Yong Sin, recipient of the Ling Su Chen Award. Congratulations. Catherine Jane Shelby, magna cum laude, recipient of the Jury's Choice Honorary Mention for Design Excellence in Architecture and the Walsh Family Hall Civic Award in Architecture and Urbanism, member of the Tau Sigma Delta Honor Society. Joanna Elizabeth Scross, magna cum laude, recipient of the Ferguson and Chimamian Undergraduate Prize and the Rambush Prize, member of the Tau Sigma Delta Honor Society. Congratulations. Nicholas Adam Sloan. Congratulations. Philip David Spence, recipient of the Michael and Julia Hanahan Architecture Prize. Congratulations. William John Steinbrecher. Congratulations. Elisa Vieira Liopas. In absentia. Iman Wang, in absentia. Tia Kiaholi Williams, cum laude, recipient of the Norman Crowe Award, member of the Lauda Sigma Delta Honor Society. Congratulations. Margaret Allen Wilsey. Congratulations. Darren Evan Yafi. Congratulations. Shin Yuan Samantha Xuan An. Recipient of the Alpha Thomas Solicit Award and Alpha Arroyo Chi Medal. Congratulations. Congratulations to the class of 2021. We are very proud of you.
Congratulations to all of our students. Unfortunately, we cannot do photos here in the stadium, so please exit and find your graduate outside following the ceremony. But first, Please stand while we play Notre Dame, Our Mother.